welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET Now's special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight on the show, a panel of experts answering your questions, and later on the other side of a break, we will feature Jumbish. That's a small giant tonight. Vikram, Prakash, gentlemen, thank you very much for being here tonight to talk our viewers through a whole bunch of questions that have come in. And it seems like MSMEs always have questions, and that's good to hear from you. Any questions that you may have for our experts at the end of this show, we'll tell you how you too can reach us. So do stay tuned. Let's quickly then bring up our first question tonight. And this one's coming to us from Bhushan Nagpal, who's tweeted at us to say that the manufacturers of polishing machines, tier testers, etc. He says, while there's a slogan of Make in India, he wants to understand how to ensure they get all the benefits under that government scheme, including, of course, financial help. And this is something that we hear very often from MSMEs who say that it's great that, you have these government initiatives, Startup India, Make in India, Stand Up India, etc. But how do we see the benefits of that, particularly when it comes to fundraising? In one of our previous episodes, you spoke about the CGT, MSE. A lot of people say it may be 2 crore collateral free, but banks are only giving us till 1 crore collateral free, and for the balance 1 crore, we still have to give up collateral. So how do we ensure that the benefits of these schemes are actually coming where they need it?
So, the Make in India benefits actually are aligned with the Startup India benefits. So if you look at quite a few benefits have been offered through that program. The DIPP has actually announced the scheme where they've actually specified in terms of the tax benefits, for example. You have to be a DIPP registered startup for that. So, there are quite a few things that one needs to look at. One is, given the sector, etc. you are in, where you need to set up, etc. has its own benefits in the geography, etc. But one needs to also look at the things like, the access to funds, both in terms of debt and equity. For example, DIPP, along with SIDBI, they have now registered all startups, all venture capital funds and other investors through a common platform. So many of these companies are actually going to this common platform, accessing a very large number of network of investors. So I think many people don't know about this actually. So people are trying to go through multiple channels, reaching out to investors, and I think there is help available to reach out to these investors. So both on the equity side and even on the debt side. On the debt side, of course, this CGT SME scheme actually is helping. But at the same time, of course, the requirements, etc. now, I think a lot of information is available online on SIDBI's website, and there are quite a few other banks who are also promoting it. So I think one needs to make sure that they've understood these schemes well to be able to really make sure they follow those directions.
I think apart from this, there are a lot of other websites which have come, which actually specialize in getting you loans and schemes or these benefits. If you go, they are like marketplace where you can just go and choose those websites and take their help at a very, very nominal price. They help. So if you really don't have time and expertise, take help from those websites, and you can get away, you can get all those benefits.
Bhushan, in response to your question then, there are multiple websites, etc., where you can definitely go and look up this information, including DIPP, but that's if you registered with them. But the government does give specific details of the various schemes that it has for MSMEs online. So do look those up. But thank you very much for sending us that question. Very quickly, moving on to our next query, and this is an email that's coming to us. You can write to us at leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com. Santosh Nair has sent us this question to say the manufacturers and suppliers of bearings, automotive brake linings, automotive brake shoes, etc. He says they're working on new marketing strategies to be implemented because of marketing trends which change from time to time. How do we set some template according to trends? Okay, so it's a very out there question, big picture question. One trend, of course, is how he should be using digital as a small business, as a marketing tool, which not a lot of companies seem to be doing at this point, unfortunately.
I think there's no set template in that sense, right? So one has to obviously be very creative about it. So it's all about creativity. But broadly speaking, people talk about 4 Ps of marketing or different frameworks to reach out to their customer, and looks like they're talking about B2B marketing in this case. And in that scenario, I think, your customer segments are very well defined, so you actually need to really understand their needs very well. So I think it's important to understand the need gap, the problem that you're solving. Is that really a problem? And the solution you're providing, is that the solution the customer is looking for? And who else is offering that solution? And is it more competitive as compared to you in terms of the pricing, in terms of services, in terms of the convenience, and lots of other things they have to look at. So I would say that, one needs to do a 360-degree view of understanding the problem and the customer and the offering. Based on that, then one can find ways to reach out to these customers. Of course, digital is a faster way to reach these customers. There are multiple ways to do that these days. There are lots of agencies which actually help you. We have a company in our portfolio called Socrati, which actually helps customers find or companies find their customers in much more effective manner at much lower cost. So you could use agencies like those to actually reach out to your customers.
Sure.
I think, Vikram, that's a very good piece of information for me as well. I would love to use your portfolio company to get some business. But yeah, as Vikram rightly said, that's a way to go. There are no set answers.
Okay.
To experiment and get different things, probably you need to read some books or go online and read some material. There are a lot of marketing consulting companies which offer a lot of material on their websites which you can read and use it.
Santosh, that's in response to your question. There's no set format or template. You will have to see what works best for your own business. Thanks for sending us that. Quickly moving on to our next query, Sandeep Rode sent us this question on our Facebook page. He says they deal with ceramics, but he has two major challenges. First, he says payments are getting delayed. Second, he says selling is easy, but recovering the payment is difficult. Part of the first question, I beg your pardon. His second question, he says, most employees want to join an MNC company to get higher wages. Where does that leave MSMEs like us? Is Sandeep's question for our experts tonight. Where indeed does it leave small companies that can't afford to pay the salaries an MNC is paying, that can't possibly give the kind of job roles an MNC is giving, to be able to hire and retain talent?
I have seen that challenge across my clients because most of the SMEs have this challenge. And I would say do two things differently. One is give them that personal touch which MNCs can't give. Meet them, talk to them, go to their house, give them that feeling that you are part of the family. If you give them that family feeling, they will come to you. Second, I've worked all my career in MNCs, HSBC, Capgemini, General Electric. The biggest problem there is corporate politics. Now, everybody is not cut out for that politics, but there are genuinely good people who have a lot of substance, who want to do good work. Look out for such people who are tired of MNC and say, look, I want some good work. I want my work to be respected. I'm not cut out here to become a CEO. Look for those people. These are the two simple solutions which will make employees stay longer. Everybody doesn't look for an MNC salary or MNC tag. Take that out of your mind. Had that been the case, so many people in MNCs wouldn't have been stressed out and, talking all the time, the good and bad of MNC.
All right.
Yeah, so I agree with that. In fact, we are noticing lots of people leaving MNCs to join smaller companies. There's a major cultural shift happening in India today, where people are looking for smaller companies and with bigger challenges. So I would say that one needs to really look for talent at the right places, and find a kind of a balance in the way that you incentivize those people to really make them part of your vision. So if these people actually are aligned with your overall goals of the business, it's much easier to keep them going along with you. The cost, which is a big issue to hire these kind of people, that can be addressed using a ESOP kind of a model where you actually pay them less than the market salaries, but give them some upside share. And of course, in smaller companies, smaller teams, culture can be built, very easily through that kind of at early stages, you can actually define your own culture. But I think one needs to actually look for people at the right places.
All right, Sandeep, thank you very much for sending us that question. We have time for one last query tonight, and this one is coming to us from Ramesh Muttuswamy, who sent us this question on our Facebook page. Ramesh says they're involved in the design and manufacture of avionics and military system. Today, he says there are many new companies which are coming into the avionics and defense market expecting huge business. But what they don't realize, he says, is the effort, the quality, the time and money which goes into making a product for such industries, which has a long gestation period. Since most businesses today, he says, are tender-based, all companies are on par, whether they're new or experienced. So effectively, they submit quotations which are heavily undervalued. And as such, companies who are aware of all these factors and have been in the industry for the last 10 to 15 years lose out because they consider the factors while costing. Even if a company which is undervalued what the final cost of the project is going to be, once they're actually making the product, then they're going to realize that the cost is not going to work. So possibly end up losing the tender as well. But specifically for someone who's working so closely with PSUs and saying small company startups are not effectively valuing what the final cost of the project is going to be, and therefore we are losing out. Would you gentlemen have any advice?
Yeah. So basically my advice is, yes, it's an interesting situation and you might feel that I'm completely helpless, but the answer is no, you need not to feel completely helpless. You should stick to your price and you should stick to your quality. There is a high chance that that startup or that young company which has just come on the board and has given a lower quote just to get the business will in a year or two realize that and will go out of the business. Similarly, when they start executing the business and they would realize, look, oh, it just can't be delivered, and there is a high chance they will leave the assignment halfway, and then the assignment might again open, and this time with a very, very specific clause that only experienced players can apply, and that's where you will have an entry. So you need to understand that as the time passes, you need to build your business in a different way, rather than just thinking that somebody else has given a lower quote. There are people sitting on the other side of the table who don't look at just the tender price and who was the lowest, but also look at the overall fact. For example, way back in '97, I used to head Patalganga plant of Reliance tender committee. And though the mandate was that only the lowest tender should go, we used to look at all other factors and we used to apply for an exception. Why we are going with the third best price or fourth best price and not the lowest best price. We used to give our recommendations and often management used to approve it.
You're looking at quality then.
Yeah. So any tender committee, whether it's in PSU or any other bank, the tender committee does look at other factors, and that's where your case will get weightage. And I was on the tender committee for 4 years, and I can tell you from my experience, we rejected a lot of tenders which were the lowest quote.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think in this particular case, since they're talking about they've been doing this, for 12 to 15 years, so in a way the customer also knows their pain points and also knows the differentiation they have and the value they bring to the table. So I think they need to engage more with the customer and tell them that this is, what they are bringing to the table and this is the value they're adding. And I think once they're able to, justify that and the customer is able to see that, of course, even the customer wants them to really, succeed, so unless these people succeed, the customer will not succeed. So I think it has to be communicated the right way. Of course, the tendering process is a process you have to go through in such cases, so, as Prakash said, it's not always the price at the end of the day. So you have to justify a value that you bring along with the price.
And as always, gentlemen, appreciate the time that you've taken out tonight to answer all of these questions. Thank you. Time for a break. Jumbish is in focus tonight on small giants. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on Small Giants, we're featuring Jumbish. Being an artist in India associated with art has always raised questions on sustainability, hoping to change perceptions and break that taboo. Is Jumbish. Shumangi Sinha caught up with the company to bring you more on what they do. Take a look.
People talk about what they want to say or convey. I paint what I want to convey.
Music is the language of motion.
Painting has such a strong impact on our lives that we can represent any subject in our way, not the way it is looking to the world.
art might be a means of visual relief to some and a way of expression to others. But what happens when art meets technology, and more importantly, when art finds a purpose? This is a tale that Pune-based company Jumbish Creations and its founders live to tell. Founded in 2016 as an attempt to provide artists an inclusive and fair platform, Jumbish has rapidly evolved to be synonymous with bridging the not-so-artistic gaps in the current art retail and contracts market.
Let us start by talking to you about what your inspiration really was behind starting Jumbish. I understand that you almost stumbled upon this idea, and it's also a passion project for you given that you're an artist yourself. Take me through what the initial inspiration was.
So how this happened was when I met the other two founders, we found there was a common problem amongst artists to not being able to connect to the right consumers. And artists usually work in pockets, which was a huge disadvantage for all of us, because usually we know a kind of consumer which might not be useful for us but might be useful for some other artists. So the idea was basically we started with first getting all the artists under one roof, because it's better if everybody works as a community, and our basic idea was to get a more healthy ecosystem started.
Right, so taking your point forward about how artists can really benefit by being a part of what Jumbish is trying to do by signing up on the platform. What are the few services that can be expected at Jumbish, and what are the things that you're perhaps helping the artists with?
So over the years, especially all three of us have built a good network amongst the art community and the consumers. Especially because I was also working during college time and post-college, and my clients are usually restaurant owners and hotel owners and people who can actually afford a huge wallet and everything. So because of which we had a good network, and then connecting to a few artists, our network grew. So artists especially who don't know how to market themselves and are mostly concentrate only on how to just make the art, they get benefited through Jumbish by our network and everything. So what we offer them is we market them online and offline both. We give them our network, and supposedly there's a project where somebody wants to paint a wall. Okay, he has to just concentrate on painting the wall. We'll get him the setup, we'll get him the material, the scaffolding, whatever. He doesn't have to bother about all of that, the budget and this and that. All that work we do for him. Apart from that, most of the artists have no idea about insurance and copyright issues and all that. So we connect them with the experts in these areas who work with Jumbish. Basically, the right person for the right job is our idea to do.
Right, so talking about the consumers on the other side then, do you think that they have in fact been looking for a service like this, whether they are corporations or restaurants or hotels like you're telling me? Have they felt that there is a gap when it really comes to understanding what the artists have to offer and what the consumers are in fact looking at?
There are only two kinds of artists in the country. Either there's somebody who's like M.F. Hussain, who paints a line and it goes for millions and only he knows where to sell it. Or there are artists who people perceive are basically don't even have enough money to put food on the table. So what we try to do is these consumers who we connect with or try to connect with are the ones who don't know where the ones who are not M.F. Hussains, those artists are. They don't know where these guys are, we know. So we try to provide them with that information. So if they tell us that there's a requirement of so and so artists, we try to find them the most affordable and reasonable artists for that.
Apart from the basic platform, you're also able to help artists with multiple training sessions, whether it is how to market themselves or how to price their paintings or price their performances. Talk to me about how important these are for the artists and what has the response been like?
Consider an engineer or maybe a CEO, whoever. They go through a lot of subjects, different subjects, and we usually think that these subjects might not be of that importance because we should remain to our core, but they are important because at the end of the day, the idea is that supposedly it's me, I should be able to be confident enough in front of my customer and get him into confidence that I am worth something. Artists, on the other hand, they keep practicing only their art. If there's a musician, he'll focus only on his skill in music. What they try to forget is this is a market where they have to sell themselves. So there are a lot of skills also required there. We try to teach them that. Apart from most of the artists, like I earlier said, have no idea about copyrights. Trust me, even I am still learning. So there's a lot of things to learn. Not just copyright, insurance, and especially using technology as a a tool to market themselves. We try to give these artists, especially the young ones, such skills so that by the time they grow, one, they should not feel that art is not something that is a career. So we try to feed it in their head if they're interested, that it is something that you can do. And when you provide with these extra skills to them, then it becomes much more easier for them. So that is the idea.
Right, so taking your point forward about being able to use technology to the advantage of these artists. So I understand that Jumbish has been able to create a buzzword for itself through social media, and you encourage your artists to do the same as well. What then are the top tips that you'd perhaps like to give your fellow artists in terms of utilizing the power of social media?
Not just social media, any sort of marketing, any social marketing, the idea is to always be present. What I personally do is I post at least one painting every day. Because you need to be present in the market, you need to be present in your social media. If you're not there even for a few days, you get replaced or people start to forget you. And use your hashtags properly and do all the things which Facebook and Instagram actually pretty much teach you.
Now there are a handful of companies who are doing something similar when it comes to providing assistance to artists across the country. What in that case do you think are a few things that Jumbish is doing differently?
So how we are different is, one, we are charging very less, bare minimum. Second, we go to our artists one by one to make sure that we understand. See, it's okay if I don't have a billion artists under my roof, it's okay, I don't mind it. But even if there are 500, we should understand each of their requirements. Every artist has a different requirement, and especially because we are playing in different art forms, not just paintings. Most of the art platforms online are of paintings. But what about the other forms of art? We have a lot of beatboxers, we have artists who are very basic in their approach. So we need to connect with them on a very personal basis. So yeah, that's how we are different.
Wrapping up this interview then, Karthikeya, tell me, what are your expansion plans looking like at Jumbish for the next 5 years perhaps? What are the goals that you're looking to achieve?
Jumbish is expanding. We are now in Bombay, Nagpur, Kolhapur also, and we got an inquiry from Assam as well. I think slowly we'll expand into the whole country, and I really wish by 2020 we reach abroad. Maybe in the next 5 years, what we are planning to do is get at least more than 1 million artists under our roof and to maybe connect them together. There's another thing which I'm very ambitious about, is to get a fusion into play. If our different art forms can work together and make a third art form, it will be even better.
Armed with the determination to convert art from a mere hobby to a viable business opportunity for artists in India, in resonance with its meaning, Jumbish is creating a movement to be reckoned with.
That's our show tonight. If you are interested in being featured here on the show, you can always write to us. We love hearing from you. Our email ID, leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com. You can also tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now. You can leave your comments on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good night.